All right, mic check, mic check. Morning Masters Podcast, your host, man, of course. Got a special guest across from me, recurring guest from last year. All right,
Yes.
how you doing, Miss Natalie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. How have you been since the last time we spoke?
Awesome.
On the
Awesome.
podcast, because I did event afterwards, but on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. Thank you.
Um, I'll say this just to start off though. I think last year I had I can't say a therapist on before because I don't think that was the title. It was something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that those episodes are always like the replay value is always high
Yeah.
because the things we talk about is always recurring things, always
Yes.
things that's not saying they're not changing for people, but so many people go through them things
Yes.
that it's recurring for people as a whole, as a community,
Absolutely. We are really in kind of an epidemic state when it comes to mental health right now. You know, people are like, "Oh, COVID, yes," but people are heavily going through financially, social, emotionally. They're dealing with grief. They're dealing with trauma. They're dealing with domestic violence. The kids are having a hard time. Suicide is at astrological proportions. And let's not even talk about the things that people are viewing every single day through social media and the news. Now, almost every other day, you're hearing about a mass shooting. People
Yeah.
are responding to that type of trauma. You know, you're hearing about a recession. People are concerned about how they're going to take care of their family, their kids, you know. So people are going through a lot of distress right now.
Definitely. I'm glad you said a lot of that stuff too, because that's stuff I want to touch on. Made some notes just now. So I want to start with this though. I know because I know you got an event coming up on July 15th, but I want to touch on that, but also speak on the last event that you had. Is that part two of that? Would that be like the
Yes, yeah. So our goal is to have the event annually. Now, we know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, which I love. I always talk on platforms and podcasts and things of that nature. With how many I can fit in, I do because I feel like it's important. But I really promote July, which is Minority Mental Health Month, because mental health is just not faced as much with, I think, the tenacity and vigor in minority communities. And it is because of the stigma, the, superhero syndrome. I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to seem like I need help. I don't want anybody to know my problems. So usually it's a lot of technically called it like the superwoman syndrome because a lot of women deal with it, but men do also. And I think a lot of times men suffer in silence because there isn't a safe space for feelings and emotions to really be discussed about what they're dealing with. You know, coming out of the womb, technically the world is on their shoulders. You have to provide. You're the head of the household. You're this, you're that. So the expectations for men can be really, really heavy, and then they don't have the freedom to freely emote what they're feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling, their emotional intelligence has been a struggle. Has it improved over the years where more men are more open? Absolutely. I think having the discussions, but a lot of men still fear looking weak in front of others. They still fear expressing feelings and emotions, have them look less than, and their pride, is damaged. So it really is important, I believe, that we start taking a look at all mental health across the board, yes, but I do think we need to definitely find better pathways for men to access care, feel like they're safe to have those emotional openings and conversations, and better ways for them to access mental health services.
Oh, I'm gonna stop what I was saying first. I wanna kind of piggyback up what you just said because I've been having. Well, I work in corporate America, and a lot of I'm gonna just say store leaders, store managers, store leaders. We're in this district. Thank God we got some women that's enrolled. Our athlete district is a black woman. And what you just said, of course, you didn't use that verbiage, but that's what it sounded like, the Superman
Yeah.
syndrome. She mentions it was something we was talking about, just like, if you don't know how to do this, reach out to your peer, stop suffering in silence.
Yes.
Put your pride to the side, ask your peer, how do you get this done?
Absolutely.
I don't care to talk about the corporate American side too much, but I'm thinking about that as as a man. And man, I watched this podcast the other day, which I rarely ever do. Jesus Christ, I hate watching relationship podcasts. I'm
Okay.
just sorry. It bothers me. But I watched it for whatever reason, and the conversation came up about men not really expressing to their friends any hardships. It's more so we talk. We be around each other, but we don't open up.
Yes.
Right. And my thought process was, well, I think about what you conditioned as a kid,
Yes.
right? So, and you mentioned everything you just mentioned, I kind of already went through in my life. So you think of, okay, I'll just use me as an example because it's easier. So, my mom, my dad, they split at 7, so he leave the house at 7. I'm 7 years old. So at this point, and your dad will tell you, oh, you're the man in the house now. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
do you see my arms?
Yes.
I can't even lift the laundry bag up the stairs, but I'm supposed to protect my mom now,
Yes.
And my sister and my brother. All right. But also then you have those conversations with your mom or whatever, and it's like, okay, you go into your aunt's house, your grandma's house, whatever. Hey, look, don't speak on the things that go inside my house. Not that it's something bad, but that's just it's our culture, it's the
given
rule.
rule.
Hey, we handle things in house like, and nothing's going on, but it's the mere fact of don't go tell my business.
Yeah.
So you're conditioned to not tell business, right? Already, even if it's nothing bad, it's just
Yes.
you're not telling business at all.
Yes.
All right, and so and then you coming into a man, so you get reprimanded for certain things or talked about certain things. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and the conversation came up of that uncomfortableness. My mom was young, she's pretty, and we would walk, and we we from New York too. We walking in Brooklyn, Bushwick Avenue. We walking down. A guy's trying to holler at moms, she ignoring them. Then I'm 7, 8 years old at this time.
Yeah.
We walk down half of that block. She's stopping. Hey, when that's somebody talk to me outside, you tell them leave my mom alone. Da da da. I'm like, well, look, these guys is 30.
Yeah.
I'm like, they would break me in half. Like
Exactly.
but I get it.
Yes.
But I said to say all this is a conditioning.
A lot of
so when you're 17, 18,
responsibility.
19, 20,
Yes.
and you come into your own, you ready to, at that point, I've been doing it for a decade now.
Yes.
I'm technically speaking, I'm a professional
Yes.
at boxing in my feelings.
Yes.
I'm a professional at trying to protect something or feeling like I have to be the man. I have to handle this on my own.
Yes.
And if I do ask for help, and the first time I ask for help and it seems as if it's getting thrown back at me, I'm never doing it again.
Yes.
So it's like, they say it take, 7 years to be a pro at something.
Yes.
At this point, it's 10.
You're a professional.
You're beyond a pro now.
Yeah, you're a professional. And it's sad. Young Black children are parentified a lot earlier because they sometimes go through parents separating, divorce, breaking up, not being with one another. And young Black men are told they are the men of the house. These are children. They don't get the opportunity to be a child. And young Black women are over-sexualized. And these are children. And a lot of times they're not looked at as children. They're not looked at as little boys and little girls who have futures and who have things going on. And you're right. Almost in every Black household or even household of color, I'm Jamaican, but I have Asian and Hispanic family members and white family members. Jamaicans, they have babies with everybody. No judgment to the Jamaicans, but they don't really discriminate. So I have family, so I walk into many different types of households.
Right.
And a lot of times when I was younger, I always saw the little sign, that has the little monkey or the little bear that the eyes are covered, the mouth is covered, the ears are covered. Like, don't take my business out this house is kind of the main rule. And I get that. But what if that house is unsafe? And a lot of times it can be, and there's nothing you can do or nothing you can say about it as a child, and to have the responsibility to bear that type of weight in the world. Half of us as adults don't want to deal with life. Can you imagine being a child, not even having experiences or knowledge or know-how to have to deal with life that they're not even prepared for, you know? So I think that is really heavily important that we start to have the conversation and recognize that at the end of the day, our life that we are living is number one, individualistic. It's important that we protect our children and learn how to emotionally connect with them and talk to them about the responsibilities that they have in an age appropriate manner. If they're 8 years old, deal with them, handle them as an 8 year old. They shouldn't be eight, but dealing with adult things. And then we get upset when they act parentified and they act grown and they get into conversations and then you want to be like, you're a child, stay in a child's place. But if you've been telling me I'm the man of the house for the past 10 years, I'm not a child. I'm
Right,
a man.
right,
I'm
right,
the
right.
man of the house. So I think we have to be aware of the tone that we set in our households and in our environment and recognize that even though our boys may be taller, they're still boys.
Well, I agree. I definitely agree. But I want to kind of open up a little bit and just ask, like, so you mentioned like setting the tone and things of that nature, right? But a lot of times we only know
What we're taught.
what we're taught, right?
Yes.
So, and I don't hate the term. I promise
Yeah.
you I don't. But and you in this field, so you know how much commercialized
Yes.
therapy has gotten.
Yes. Very much so.
Gee, you got these. I'm gonna get into it, but it's very commercialized
Yes.
in the fact that everybody think they can do it. Everybody think they're a specialty
Yes.
therapist because they ask three good questions and they got a good story just one
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
they now they're solidified as a therapist.
Yeah.
It's therapy with Maine or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you talk about generational things, right? So if generationally, like you mentioned, talk to them like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
They're being taught. They're talking to the 8-year-old as just how they were taught to when they were 8 years old,
8 years old.
or just
Absolutely.
how the 8-year-olds and their family traditionally, quote unquote,
Taught.
have been taught to,
Yeah.
right? So in that person's mind, they're not doing anything wrong because they're doing what they've seen
They were taught to do.
and what they may deem to be successful, even if it meant for 3 or 4 years that kid was following a lot of misdirection. I don't want to say bad leadership because that's the
Yeah,
wrong term, but a lot of misdirection because,
Absolutely.
like you say, you're the man in the house one day, but then tomorrow I'm not your friend. Listen, you do as I say. Then the next day
Yes.
is you the man in the house. Why the trash not out? But then the next day is, hey, didn't I tell you to clean the room?
Exactly.
It's a lot of
lot of
misdirection.
back and forth
Yeah,
and up
and
and
you don't know
down.
where you at. You just
Yes. Now I will say I don't remember because we did this interview last year maybe, and I would say there's a book called "It Didn't Start with You." And the book, it's a little dry. I'm not gonna lie, but it gives a really great
shout out to the honesty.
detail of epigenetics and how trauma is not just passed on and learned behavior in environment, but it's cellular. You know what I'm saying? That trauma is cellular. And we have to take the time to unlearn inappropriate behavior and relearn the appropriate behavior. Learn how to apologize to our children when we're wrong. Learn how to find out what are the most age appropriate things for children. And guess what? Nothing is cookie cutter. It may say, hey, this is the best model, but we know our children. We have to have conversation and learn who our children are and find out what the best model and fit is for them. It's not an easy road being a parent. It's really, really challenging. And I don't want to paint the picture as like, oh, you can just unlearn and relearn, because I know people make therapy seem like it's the it thing and it's easy and all this stuff. Therapy is work. It's a lot of tears. It's a lot of anger. It's a lot of I don't want to come back to therapy. It's a lot of unlearning things that you have found comfortable for the last 20 or 30 years and relearning things that are uncomfortable and relearning things that you're ashamed to say you didn't know. And so it can be really scary.
I wonder. So you mentioned unlearning and trying to relearn, and how we speak about, somebody doing something for so long and becoming a pro at it. So how do you unpro something? Like
Yeah.
you're now professional. Do it. Oh no, what's the term? Super.
Super person.
Yeah.
Not a Superman, super person. Honestly,
Superman syndrome. You said.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Superman syndrome, superwoman syndrome. In all honesty, it's taking a step back and wanting to really take accountability for the life you want to live. A lot of times when people are in the mode of superman or superwoman, it may not be necessarily what they want to do. It may just be what they know to do.
That's all they know.
It's all they know. So one of the first things I would talk to them about is, what is it that you want to do? If you had the ability to take away everyone else's requirements, their needs, their wants and desires that you've superimposed on yourself, and it's just you and the things that you want to do, what would you do? What would it look like? How would you live? What would that look like? I would ask them questions for them to figure out themselves. Because a lot of times when you're doing all of that, you're doing all of that to show that you're valuable to other people. It's not that I'm valuable myself. It's you're valuable to other people. So what about you? What about your importance? What about your value?
So I guess I'd rather we can role play on that. I don't know if I would say Superman syndrome, but you definitely you grow up and you find yourself. I ain't gonna say you find yourself in situations where you are able to do for yourself as well as others, and you're able to, and you're able to carry it well. So even the title of a Superman syndrome, at some point you don't really know until you actually sit back and realize all that you're doing. So I guess to unpack that, if I had to answer a question like that, only way I can like really tell you like what's something that I want. I don't mind doing what I'm doing. I would just want it to be where it wasn't a need to do it. It was just a choice to do it.
A choice. Absolutely.
And then that would help me a lot, because if it was a choice, then I can jump in, jump out.
Yes.
And I wouldn't feel a certain way. I wouldn't feel no pressure on whether myself or that person feel pressure on themselves to be the man of this household, maybe as well as this household now, because you're growing up now, so you got your own. Now you still got to probably be the man, the one that you came from, or you was birthed at, or you lived in. You got family members you probably taking care of, or like things like that is but you're not doing it by choice. It's just because it's necessary to be done.
It needs to get done.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that we've all kind of lived in kind of a traumatic space of it needs to get done. I think if you follow social media, a lot of women are like, now we want to live the soft life because we've lived the life of it needs to get done. So I'm just going to do it. Now a lot more women are like, listen, I'm going to do the bare minimum.
Hey, not be funny, but I've seen a lot of posts too, and I love any woman of history that matters and that they made progress and made that gender be progressive.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing this post float around for a long time.
Yes.
And I know they fed it. They say, look, who fought for us to work?
Exactly.
I don't want these rights. I didn't want to work. I didn't sign up for this. Why did you fight for this? It's actually very ghetto. It's uninterested. I don't like it.
I don't want an adult today. Listen, even as therapists, we be like, oh, I don't want an adult today. But
I even see the kids, the teachers today, like they like, hey, look. Don't send the kids to school tomorrow, please.
Don't.
Just keep them. We ain't doing nothing. I promise you, we ain't doing nothing. Keep them home. I don't want them.
Listen, everyone's on a kick of like, listen, it doesn't take all of that. It really is. Like, it doesn't take all of that. But listen, I couldn't even begin to tell you the amount of people that are just tired of living the life that they're living, And I think that's why we see such an increase in suicide, because people feel like there's just no other way and there's no way out. They don't see how they can change it. You know what I mean? And It really is. There is one word that I have, super capitalized in my vocabulary since the pandemic, and that is pivoting. You have to be able to pivot. If something is not going in a particular way, in the way that you think it should go, you need to be able to turn and do something different and find value in that. But I feel like so many people are tunnel vision, like, this is all I know, this is all I know to do. They don't feel like they have the opportunity to change. And we all have, every day that we wake up, we have new graces and new mercies to do something different and to change. And a lot of times people feel like they're stuck and they don't have an option. And there is always an option. Is it going to be easy? Probably not. But if it's possible, if you have the wherewithal and the tenacity, anything is possible.
I agree, and I want to. There was something you said I wanted to touch on. Now, I don't like cutting anybody else.
No,
so
go ahead.
I should have wrote it down, but my daughter, she called me. She wants some candy. She's telling me to get some candy, and I can. But yeah. So even with a man and the Superman syndrome, Superwoman syndrome, a lot of times, even though we say, hey, let's unlearn something. I know you're a pro at this. Let's try to be a pro at the opposite, which is super hard. Like, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about 10 years of something, and like, how do you backtrack that? Right? Is it another 10 years now to unlearn it? In 10 years to, how do you weigh that? But it's also deemed and looked at and worn as a badge of honor if you are able to handle those things and I guess not show. I actually got a text the other day from my mom, and I don't have a problem with doing that for the family. I always love to do that. I feel like if you're in position, and that's fine, because if I wasn't, if somebody else was, I want them to look out,
Up.
But she texted me and she just said, I don't know if I ever told you, but thank you for all you do for, your brother, your sister, me, and you do it and you never complain, and even for somebody who could, quote unquote, maybe be a part of this Superman syndrome, always want to do it here, or, not going to complain, not going to whine. It's just in my nature, and it could have been conditioned. Sometimes that one message is like, and I know it sounds crazy, right? But that one message is like, if I had been feeling that way or overwhelmed for the last 6 months, 8 months, that sometimes is worth it.
It's
people,
enough. It's enough. And honestly, a lot of times it is about just gaining acknowledgement. I mean, we forget that, and I think social media has caused a lot of discord, because although it's something that brings us together, I think I believe this year they did a poll, and people are more isolated and lonelier than ever. And we were made a people to be of community and to help one another. And we look for acknowledgement and appreciation and support and love and passion and all those things from one another. So sometimes a thank you is enough. Sometimes a thank you is more than enough to know that they saw that I did this and they appreciated it. It's going to make you want to do more, even though you don't have to do more. But it opens up the avenue for you to want to do. And, if you're a person where, I'm the same way. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and the responsibility of life absolutely falls heavily on me. And I'm always in the middle of things and a mix of stuff. But I love that. For myself, I have found creativity in building things. While therapy is my job, I love real estate. If I'm having a bad day and somebody's getting on my nerves, and I'm like, ugh, I go walk through an open house and I am happy by the time I leave the open house. I'm like, oh, I will move this wall here. I would do that. I love decorating a space, and I love looking at real estate and stuff like that. So for me, creating those spaces and doing those things, I find those things help me to regulate when I'm feeling kind of out of sorts. And I think that we have to learn ourselves. This year I turned 45, and I said to my family, I said, I've worked for someone for a long time. I've done things the way other people wanted me to do this. And I've lived life for other people for a very long time. I said, this year, everything that I do is only going to be the things that I want to do. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it this year, and I have made that dedication to myself. If I want to sleep later, I'm going to sleep later. If I want to get up and do something different, I'm going to do that. I was flying to Italy 2 weeks ago. So whatever I feel like I am passionate about and I want to do, that is on my list of things to do. And I've set my mind in a way like, hey, sometimes when we're growing up, we don't have a choice in things. But when we reach an age that we can make a change and we can do different, then I say do different. Allow yourself those liberties, especially when you've had to sacrifice a lot.
You mentioned also just with the mental health, because this all our whole conversation is now really been just from the Superman syndrome you're talking about. And you mentioned just also like growing up in whether it's suicide, whether it's domestic violence. I wanted to touch on just growing up around family or without family. And I say that, and I should have probably had sent it to you last night. I did an episode last night with someone, and a long episode too, because I didn't have certain questions in my queue to ask her. Right? She mentioned that she pretty much, I won't say she grew up in a foster home, but she lived with her family for the most part. She's from Augusta, and from 12 to 15 or 12 to 15 and a half, something like that, she was in foster care because her caretaker, her grandmother, passed away. Her great grandmother had her, but then said, "Look, I'm only gonna keep these kids here, y'all." It was some split up, whatever.
Yeah.
Which also I'm like, it's but the stat that had caught me was that she was like, well, from 12 to 15, I was in 36 foster homes, and I was like, wow. But as I'm asking her questions, just me and my normality, I'm like, that's just not normal. That's not normal. But and it, even in her answers, it didn't seem like it really phased her that was a thing. She said it wasn't normal, but she said, well, I stayed in the area the whole time, so I knew where my mom was, my dad was. I didn't know them, but I knew where they were.
Where they were.
And I knew my family was at. I just was in different homes. And some of them were just, she said, self-inflicted, like, she wanted to leave. She didn't like the area, so she wanted to leave. She didn't trust the system no more, so she kind of, became a problem for the most part. And I started to think of the thing, because I really had her on because sometimes she posts things and things, she say her views, and we were going to go back and forth. But I said, let me interview. And then just doing that, I took a lot of my questions out. Cause I was like, okay, now I'm understanding why she feel this way. Now I'm understanding why she feel like just that quick.
Yeah.
I said, okay, her life is different than someone else's, right?
Yeah.
And I think of the mental wealthiness of a person like that.
Yeah. The distress.
Wasn't able to grow up with a mother's love. She maybe mother's figure, but not a mother's love, a father's love. But seeing them, they think they was on drugs, something like that. Something like she said. Then also having family around, then not getting picked by family. It's like,
absolutely,
I picked them, but
I didn't pick you. What was wrong with me?
Then I think she said she ended up getting pregnant at 15, her first kid. I think the guy was 21 when she met him, and he was 14. It was just so much other stuff to unpack. I'm like, whew, by the time, I was like, all right, so I get to the real question. It was like 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't pass up the chance.
Information,
But I always tell people, and I have people on these podcasts and stuff, and I'm talking to them, they represent a piece of the city, and she represents probably a piece, and maybe a higher percentage of a piece of people in Augusta that we don't even know about, because she don't wear everything she said. She don't wear that to me. I don't know her personally, but she didn't wear that to me.
Absolutely.
And I was like, ooh, that was a lot. And I wish I would did it earlier. Send it to you, because that could have something you could have dissect, or just that's the kind of people I would want. I would even want you to talk to, because like, and that's, and that might be even difficult, because I told you I wanted to, I hit you. I wanted to do something I thought would be, dope. But you made perfect sense. You was like, well, some things you can't do for this and that.
Yeah.
And then I also the camera on somebody. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
openness out because
Absolutely.
they so focused on what they say, and
Yeah.
then you got the lights, the microphones.
It
It's
makes
like
it uncomfortable.
it's like, oh, my
Yeah.
mom might see this.
Yeah.
We cool now.
Exactly.
Um, but those are people I'll be wanting to like. I want them to meet her, and but also people don't want to unpack them kind of things either.
Yeah.
But I could tell she probably hadn't spoke about that in a long time because
Yeah.
we spent so much time on that, and she was so open. I feel like I probably could have just talked about that the whole time, and she'd have been fine with that.
And you know what? A lot of times people want their voice heard, and it's sad the system in Georgia is so in a disarray. And I'm not saying New York is much better because I worked in CPS in New York. But I think the system is a little bit more transparent. But here it's so monotonous. And to say 36 homes in like 3 years, that is a lot of homes.
And that's 12 and a half, so
12
not
and
even
a
a
half.
full 3.
Yeah, not even a full 3. And you have to think about, she was a teenage girl. Having a teenage girl in the foster care system is like a recipe for early pregnancy, which she ended up pregnant, because you're looking for love. You're looking for attention. You don't feel loved. You weren't chosen. So as soon as someone shows you a little bit of love, a little bit of compassion, you cling on to that. That is your lifeline.
And I made clips of everything. Yeah, I made some clips that I wanted to put out because I'm gonna use hers and yours while I'm off and make some clips. But one thing she said I thought stood out to me a lot, and I gotta find it. It was I asked her. It was something she said. She said, I didn't know what death was because I asked her like, well, did you ever get to mourn your grandma in 12 years? But it was like I mean, like. I think they told us later when she had passed already. It was almost like, not saying it didn't affect her, but it's like it's not what you think, know. So she said something about death, and I asked her, I said, well, I'm gonna do the opposite. Like, when did you what point did you know what love was?
Yeah,
because she mentioned not knowing what death was at that time at 12, and she paused, and I think she probably was like, damn, that's
a good question.
And she said, when I had my kid, my first kid, that's the first time I ever
knew love.
Experienced love, yeah. And even that was deep. I'm like, damn, like. So you think of, and I'm not, of course, I'm not saying, one, you're not picking one mental pocket versus the other, but I look at, let's say me, for instance, and, you're saying, okay, well, you 7, you're man in the house, da. My mom showed a lot of love. She was very affectionate with us. I never had to yearn for a hug or attention from nobody. Thank God it was true when she said it. Thank God. But she always told me, you beautiful, you look nice, you handsome. My son is pretty, like all this type of stuff. She would let us know, my brother, my sister, affirmation. So we didn't go out looking for this stuff. I knew what love was prior from the day I was born, just because of my family and how they operate. So the other thing that I had to deal with was it was not easier to take on, but it's doable.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that and dealing with what she was telling me.
What she was dealing with. And can you imagine the traumas that she has had to sustain and try not to pass on to her children organically?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's heavy stuff, because when you were saying to me about the death, she didn't really know or whatever, it sounds like even to now, she is absolutely numb to emotion, especially when it comes to that aspect of her life, because it has been probably trauma after trauma after trauma. And no one has given her the opportunity to speak or talk on that trauma.
Yeah.
And, she probably didn't even think, hey, anything is wrong with this if it's been normalized that this is just what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not really what just happens, but that's been her life experience and probably the life experience of the people around her. So she doesn't know different until she is now an adult and seeing like, oh, it can be different, but then what are the barriers for her to move past? Is it, it can be different for me only until this point, like her potential stops here because she doesn't see past that? Or has she gotten to a point where she is healed enough to see there's limitless potential depending on the avenue that I take for me and my family?
Yeah, yeah, it's very true. Yeah. So yeah, it was different. It was
Yeah.
different what I expected. Cause I expected to have a fun pod. And
Yeah.
it was still fun for the most part, you know. But that just opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And as we talking now, that's fresh in my mind. Cause she literally sat in that same chair, same mic, same yesterday, not even 24 hours ago, and it's like, damn, you know, that's somebody's story,
It's heavy.
you know.
It's heavy.
And that just started just from us asking me my normal stuff. Like, actually, hey, what's your upbringing like? So we
Yeah.
4 minutes in, like, whoa,
Heavy.
I gotta stop you right there. Hold on, what you mean? Like, you know, and I'm trying to get understanding that. And then, no disrespect to her, but I also feel like it was some things she probably really couldn't give me understanding on because she don't have it either.
She doesn't have it herself.
So sometimes I had to draw back. Okay, let me not ask that question because maybe it's just something she for next maybe in 5 years she ain't talk about it. In 10 years she ain't talk about it. So she's opening up to something like, oh damn, this is what you asked. I remember even when she came the demeanor, she was like, what's the question? I said, I don't do questions. I just you sit down, we just conversate.
Free flow.
Yeah.
But I promise you gave her probably so many nuggets to think about that she probably for the next couple of years will be pondering questions like, man, I've never really considered what that looked like or that question. Now I wonder, you know?
You being in the therapy field though, you know, I'm not in the field, but I like to do this. Like judging is I mean, people say they don't judge. Everybody judge. I don't know like what world we think we living in, but I think if you lock your door and somebody walk by, you judging.
Okay.
You know, if you lock your house, if you lock your I mean, it seems like the same thing to do, but it's safe for one thing. But you know what kind of community you live in.
Yeah.
Or you live, even if you live in a nice one,
Nice community.
you know, you see the movies.
Yep.
You know, so you're judging. I don't care how you slice it. I know it don't sound like a good thing to say, but that's how it is. But before I try to make a fair a judgment, a fair assessment, and or just wonder, I'm like, okay, even if it's jokes, like somebody always. So on social media now, you know, if you're a guy and you have anything to say about a woman, it's like, do you like women? I'm not that person. You know, I get it, but I also like to know people's background and sometimes it'll tell you like how they're shaped and why they think the way they think.
Absolutely.
Because I might have an opinion about something and you might have a totally different opinion about it. To me, it might be left field that you think that. Until I find out you've been through that. You've been through this. This is your lifestyle. This is what life is to you. It makes more sense now.
It makes
so
more
instead
sense.
of me judging like, oh, you're dumb because da da da, or you must making these weird, crazy assumptions. Simply just talking to somebody and like you get to realize exactly who they are. So when I ask them questions on my podcast, a lot of times, I mean, people make jokes. We all joke about it, like they're like, "How I like you, man?" So we ask this, but a lot of times them be the floodgates to a lot of other good clips and conversations I can have with them.
Absolutely.
And that will set you apart from. And I'm pretty sure even in therapy, it's things. It's a method you have or a certain vibe you give, or I hate the word vibe too. I don't know. It's another word. It's just going crazy. Aura, like that. Some aura about the way you ask questions, your follow up, like just your posture and in your conversational style, that is gonna be different than the next therapist. And somebody gonna be like, I like that one better.
Absolutely.
I feel more comfortable with this person.
Absolutely.
You know,
I have people who have chosen me because I'm Black. I've had people who have chosen me.
Clap for being Black one time, okay?
I have people who've chosen me because of my voice. It sounds calming.
I like your voice.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have people who have chosen me because they like my smile. People have told me some of the oddest things of why they've chosen me, but it made them feel comfortable enough to want to open up. So I said, whatever it is. And you know what? I tell people all the time also, if we get into a situation where I'm a clinician you've chosen and I'm not the good fit, like I don't feel like we're moving. Like I feel like you're coming to me, we're speaking, there's comfort there, but there's no work being done or no development being done.
It's almost like you're just checking the box of like saying, I went to therapy.
I went to therapy.
I had therapy today.
Absolutely.
It wasn't therapeutic though.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It was a comfortable situation. I'll refer out. I'll say, hey, I think we definitely have built a rapport. It's a good relationship, but the work that needs to be done, that work isn't being done for you to reach the goals that we said we wanted to reach when we first started this journey. And maybe it's time to refer you out to another clinician that may be able to help you reach those goals. And I don't have a problem helping you look for that clinician.
And that's good because a lot of times people be so, greedy and just about out for self and wanting that client, they want that money. That's you can tell that you actually care about the work versus, just
Yeah.
making a quick dollar on somebody.
Listen, everyone does things honestly if they're in a business for themselves, they have to make money. But it's important for me to be in the helping field. I'm here to help people. And if I don't feel like I can help you, I would rather find someone who can help you and say, "Hey, you know what? I don't think this was a great fit for me. Are you accepting referrals?" And I'll have them, go and meet them and see if it's a good fit. I've had plenty of people say, "Thank you for the referral. This was great. I really had, a great experience with this clinician or whatever." And I love those moments because, listen, Augusta may be a small city to some people, but Augusta's a very big city. And in all honesty, if you're a clinician in Georgia or in any other state, you're getting referrals from the whole state, not just Augusta.
Right.
So there is more than enough work, especially with the amount of people that are in distress right now. It's okay that you don't get every single person. It's okay that you say, "Hey, I'm full. Right now I have a waiting list." And, I tell people it's going to take a minute for me to get to you. You can wait. I can refer. How would you like to move forward?
That's good, though.
Yeah.
I mean, good. It's good in both ways. One, it's good that you are even still willing to redirect someone to get help, get something they need.
Yeah.
Or just want whatever it might be for them. But then at the same time, it's clap it up for you also because to build your clientele. I know you do your own kind of practice, right? So that's a blessing. That's
It
beauty.
is.
It's beauty in that,
I appreciate that, and I'm thankful to be blessed. I really am. Some days, honestly, are better than other days. You don't want to be the boss. Some days you want to be in the bed, but but it is good. I enjoy what I do.
This is on a tangent, but describe to me and I'm just curious now. Describe to me give me a rundown of a day for you.
Ew.
As a
So
therapist.
a day for me is starting off with a breakfast and a walk with my nephews. We've been walking, and then getting coffee. And I see about 6 clients a day. I try not to overload myself with a ton of people because while it is therapy and it's mental work, it takes a lot of energy. So I try not to overload myself. So I take 6 people. I do give myself a lunch break, and I just have sessions. They're about 50 minutes, and I do allow myself some breathing exercises or journaling. My big thing is reading right now. So I'm in the middle of a book. So if I get 30 minutes or whatever, I'll read a couple of chapters until it's time to go back, set my alarm, and go back to it until the day is done. So that's really my day. Sometimes people will call me for speaking engagements. I was blessed last week. I got called for Brooklyn Public Library. So I flew to New York and I did a Mother's Day mental
you
health
told me,
talk.
yeah.
So that was really fun. And, I have a couple of events coming up. Actually, this week I have an event with Warren Bowman coming up. He's having a lunch and learn on Thursday. And then on Sunday, the classic soiree at the Gracewood Mansion. I'm on that mental health panel also. So I do try to do several panels for Mental Health Month. Next month, my goal is to have at least 4 male clinicians talking with me about men and mental health for Men's Month. And then July is our summit. So I have been steadily working. Usually around April, I'm like, okay, full steam ahead, straight until just the end of July, and then I kind of take a break.
Well, I'm curious to ask, so with you, being in that field, being in therapy, and not saying that's your job to calm people down. I don't think that's what it is per se, but you kind of keep people even killed for the most part, and
Yeah.
just so like what happens if you ever get an overload or if you ever feel overwhelmed or
Overwhelmed. You know what? I have a safe group of people that I talk to when I'm feeling totally not like myself. My main go to group, and I know people like, are my sisters. We have a continuous sister chat that we talk on every single day. It literally runs all day. Like we're talking in that chat all day, or we FaceTime each other because we're not in the same city all the time. And so they're my first kind of defense go to. And then I have a couple of local friends. I keep it really tight, but they're my people,
yeah.
and and I do that, and if I'm really really feeling like I need a break, then I will go back home to my country, which is Jamaica. I will go to Jamaica to my family there and just be like, all right, I need a couple of days to kind of pull myself together. Or New York, either one of those spaces work for me. But my first go to is my sister group, and then my friends that are here, and then travel. Yep.
what about it's a word you used earlier, and it's I feel like it's synonymous with reset. It started with R, and I should have wrote it down, and you said it, and I was like, damn. I wonder, like, give me ways people can do that, and I don't know
You
now
mean
that
pivot?
no it was
It was
before that you was
before
talking that,
pivot. Okay.
and you
Or
said
reset.
tell somebody to do this, and it was synonymous with reset.
It was
I don't know what the
synonymous with
R was,
reset.
but it was synonymous with just pretty much like now I'm thinking all the R words, right? Like
All the R's.
reloading and stuff like that. It was it was something like that, and I should have wrote it down. But like say, I will say this: like your voice is soothing. So like even me, like I don't want to cut you off. Sometimes I want to keep going. So that's why
Just
if you
keep
notice
talking. Keep
when you
talking.
talk, sometimes you just stop and like, okay, well let's get. I'm liking the voice. Like I feel like I'm getting some kind of therapeutic, a plus from this as well, which I knew I would anyway. But damn, I'm watching back. I'm like, that's the damn word. Watch. I already know it.
It's
But
okay.
I think was it reprogram? I don't know. I'm just saying.
He said any R word that's
I
like
think
reset.
it was reprogramming.
Could you tell me? Could you remind me of the context in which I said it? Then I could probably.
You was talking about as a person, like, and I think it was reprogram, but you was talking about as a person, like, sometimes so much is going on, you have to. You didn't say pivot, but you had because before that it was like the first 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like
Yeah.
that, and you was like, pretty much, you find a way to reprogram, relearn, and I'm just saying all the R words.
All
Now,
the R
reset,
words. It's fine. It's
reset,
fine.
rerun.
Well, let's use reset. Let's just keep it at reset, and then we'll go back and find the word.
What are ways that people can do that? Like, what are ways people can
Reset. Okay. So for many people, it will be different. It depends on if they want a relaxation reset, if they want kind of an educational reset to unlearn and relearn some behavior. Mentally, it's just a lot of cognitive restructuring. Kind of getting rid of the stinking thinking. And you had mentioned earlier something about learned learned behavior, and you were talking about like, hey, if it's been like 10 years, I'm programmed. And I wanted to say to at that point, our body is a wonderful thing, and our brain is forever learning. Truthfully, the body keeps score with trauma, with anything that we do. Our body really has muscle memory, and our wonderful brain, we can reset our brain. We can create new neural pathways. It's just like us learning any new thing. It takes us about 21 to 30 days for it to become a heavy habit. The problem is we are creatures of habit. So for us to really unlearn some things and kind of kill that neural pathway, we have to really create a new neural pathway and stick to that pathway for a while for our brain to say, okay, I got it. This is the way that I'm going to do it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that that old way may not try to creep back up in, but our job is to kind of keep on that neural pathway. So think of our brain as having, it does have grooves. It does have grooves, but in our brain, the thing that we do over and over and over and over and over again, that groove is kind of deeper and deeper and it's ingrained into us.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's hard for us to unlearn stuff when it's automatic. One of the things I always use as an example is driving our car. When we leave work and we want to stop at the grocery store, sometimes when we're driving our car, we'll get to our driveway and not even remember exactly how we got there.
Yeah.
Because our brain is programmed to get us home. Now, we're aware, but we are not in tune. We just know we end up home. Now, you'll get to your driveway like, dang, I wanted to go to the grocery store. But we were already programmed, it's time to go home.
Yeah,
so our brain took us on the path to go home. So we would have had to be consciously aware to say, Natalie, I need to go to the grocery store for us to actually stop at the grocery store and stop our pathway from taking us home. And so that groove is deep. It knows how to get you home. So now we have to channel a new groove to do something. So it's easy for us to forget because that's not a normal routine. So we have to create a routine of us learning something new and doing it repetitively to create the groove. Just like we created it for driving home, we have to create a new groove for the new things we want to learn. Do you get what I mean?
Nah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I think about even now, I've driven and you like how I get here.
How I get here. How I get here.
But you really need to be though.
You do. You need to be present. But you are present, but you're not consciously present and aware. And I think people don't realize that. And that's how our bodies sometimes work on automation. And how powerful our mind is. Like, hey, even if you're not consciously here, I can still get us home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How amazing is our body? So unlearning some things and relearning some things, it may take time, but if you're consistent with it, you can reset your brain to learn new things. Other resets are like relaxation resets, learning how to take time for ourselves, which is also, I think, something major in communities of color that they don't exercise heavily. Like how many people that you know, honestly, I can say it really has been in the last 3 years that I've really seen a major amount of people of color taking heavy vacations. Prior to COVID, I don't know if people were heavily taking vacations like that. They went places, but like
you see it more now than
I
ever.
see it so because people are recognizing like time is short. I need a break. You know what I'm saying? They need more breaks. It's so overwhelming. They don't know what's happening tomorrow, so they want to experience things in life. And
if for some reason you able to stumble across like some research on that, like as to why, just let me know, because it's some people and some peers of mine, like we work hard, we feel like make a good amount of money, we trying to figure out how people that maybe not making the money we make are going on more vacations than us.
Going on more.
And I just I'm like, whoa, what the?
They become creative.
They Italy become last creative. Week, and then you was in Jamaica, and now you okay.
Okay.
I'll be going to Myrtle Beach, I guess, and for a couple of days. You know, it's like I just wonder now. It makes me wonder, but yeah, that's a good point. Maybe life is short and they're just doing their thing. Life
is short, and people are doing their thing. Listen, I think people have made so many sacrifices working. You know, a lot of people have worked, missed graduations, missed weddings, missed loved ones' births, missed deaths, you know what I'm saying? They spent so much life missing things that now they're prioritizing living and not missing opportunities anymore. Even if it's a little bit outside of their means, they're like, I need to do this for me, which I think is a good thing. Now, are you getting yourself in trouble financially to do it? That's not a good thing. But
hey, man,
you're prioritizing yourself. So. You know, prioritizing self is a good thing.
I'm glad you're up on game about some of the stuff, because I said the same. I said, oh, no, they definitely scamming. They doing something. This is crazy now. Person they went them up, and they first class seats. They just, I'm like, the view is amazing. I said, what the?
Like, how are you doing this?
I know, like, I just saw you last week. You was all right, whatever, you know, or whatever. But yeah. I go, anybody listening, go on vacation. That's fine. As long as, you know, if you can stay out of, you know, trouble and doing it, that's even better. But,
that's even better. Yes.
Your life is your life. I ain't gonna tell you what to do. May, you know, you mentioned May being mental health awareness month.
It
right?
is.
So,
yeah.
when you got October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Domestic Violence Month, you got marches for this. Is that something that y'all like? What is y'all? What is the thing for mental health? Like, what's the go to? I know some people have races, they have walks, they have rallies. What is something or something you would look forward to? Is you already know one? I don't know. What could be something for Mental Health Awareness Month that would represent that?
Well, a lot of times, if you go around a city for Mental Health Awareness Month, even today, yesterday, I went to the Marble Tower or the municipal building downtown, and they had the giant balloons that talked about Mental Health Awareness Month, which I was very excited about because sometimes people don't recognize how heavily important mental health is. And so just the awareness of it, and I think it really is normalizing the conversation that makes Mental Health Awareness Month popular. Because we deal with mental health every day. You know, a lot of times people confuse mental health with mental illness. Mental health is about your wellness. Mental illness is a disease that you're struggling with. And so I think primarily Mental Health Awareness Month is just recognizing the importance of the month. So you would see a lot more psychoeducation stuff about coping with mental illnesses. You'll see resources in the community. Yes, they have races. Yes, they have like the lunch and learns, the soirees, the summits. There have been tons of information for people to access for free. So I really enjoy Mental Health Awareness Month because this month really highlights how important our mental health is. Now, should we be talking about it every day? I think so, absolutely, because guess what? If your brain's not right, your body's not going to be right. So, because your body follows what your mind does. So, I think wholly it should be a discussion every day. Now, do people want to face those discussions every day? Probably not. But it's a reality of, hey, if someone's not in their right mind, there's going to be a problem. You know, learning tools and things, to help us keep ourselves mentally well is important.
Do you ever feel because of your field and what you do, you ever feel a way or cringe, if at all, at scenes of like when you're watching movies or shows and their therapy session scenes? Do you ever feel like that's not a real thing? Because like that's for most people that never have been
entertained.
That's what they think it is.
They've had some pretty interesting moments about therapists in the movies, but there have been some moments that have been like, oh yeah, that's not good. But I will say, even. And I don't want to disparage people, but even some kind of mental health coaches on TV could be a little much, depending on the circumstance. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if the commercialization, if that's a word, I hope it is.
It is.
Thank God. of therapy and mental health.
Yeah.
Has helped or hurt the industry, in your opinion?
I'm going to say more help than hurt. And the reason why I'm going to say more help than hurt, I know the commercialization of it make it be like, oh my God, mental health, whatever. But it absolutely is a need. There has just been such a lack of monies, policies, treatments, resources across the United States in regards to mental health. So I think the awareness and it being on everybody's tongue immediately makes me happy, because that means funding, that means policies, that means resources, that means change. So I'm happy about that. I'm not happy with subpar services of mental health, but that's not my call. My call is, the people that I service. So
I actually asked that question. I think we might have spoke about it last year. I'm not sure. I talked about it so much. But I remember having a police officer on a podcast a while back. was a police officer, pretty popular at the time. And I remember getting a lot of feedback about people saying, "Oh, he don't seem genuine, and he's doing it for this or doing it for this." And my theory was always, if that's true, so what? Let's just
Yeah.
say it's not. It's an act. It's a kid in that neighborhood that now is gonna view cops a little differently.
A little bit different.
And that's kind of what you want. You want people to feel different than what they're gonna see when they grow up. And even if it's an experience they gain,
Yeah.
and it wasn't genuine, they still gain that experience. It don't take from that
Yeah.
experience.
Exactly.
And I thought that people were saying that was just weird. I'm like, well, if that's the case, and he put it in the front, give him clap him. He's doing a good job for that, whatever. That's his own karma he got to
Yeah.
deal with. But these kids that's reaping the benefits of him throwing a water fight or buying ice cream for the neighborhood or
and it's
whatever it was doing.
important to those kids. It may
Very.
not. You may be like, oh, he just doing it for this or he just doing it for that. It doesn't matter if the
Not my
kids
call.
are happy.
Not my
The
call.
kids are
Yeah.
happy. They're feeling safer around the officer, which is probably the bridge he's trying to gap.
Right.
Or whatever the case may be. How does him doing what he do, how does that impact your life?
And that's my thing. I'm like, well, if it helps the kids, that's all that should matter. It's
Yeah,
helping
that
the
should be
community.
what it.
That's all that
How
should
does that
matter.
impact your life? If he's faking it or not, he's servicing a community in a way that he feels to service it. If he feels like, okay, I'm doing this to be seen, guess what? The kids are still going to be excited. He's bringing ice cream. The kids are still going to
Exactly.
be excited when they see him show up. So
And I say that to say, you mentioned it being help more than hurt. And I of course, I watch a lot of podcasts or interviews rather. And I remember at one point, I don't know if you're familiar with the Breakfast Club or not, but and I like him. He's a good personality. But Charlamagne God at one point, it almost was not cringe-worthy, so to speak. But I felt like every interview he brought it up like not in a genuine sense, just like fourth question. All right, so how's your mental health? It's like, oh
yeah.
it just
But I will
and I
tell
get it,
you,
though.
you recognize lately though his tone has definitely changed towards mental health because he's dealt with some really heavy mental health stuff and
Yeah.
had to get a therapist himself. You know what I'm saying? It's something that changes in you when you have to deal with those experiences that are heavy for you and that are overwhelming for you, and you are the person on the other side of the table. Things pivot when it becomes personal.
And that brings me to the point, and I know we want to push for people to get it if they need it, but they have to be ready for it as well.
They do.
Right? So you can't force it at all.
Can't.
And I think sometimes when he was talking, it seemed that way because you coming for it, and you're like, oh, what he asking? I didn't come for this stuff.
I didn't come for this.
I didn't come for a headache. I came to promote this movie and get on out of here. Now you asking about my dead grandma or this. And I'll say even for me, I think I can't remember when we did ours. I want to say maybe March. So my grandma passed after that, and I remember, I of course I'm not trying to talk about it. Like it's new, it's fresh, and I remember having some questions one time, and I always answer questions from people on the podcast, and I'm talking, I answer questions, and I get that question, and you don't really realize that you still not ready to talk about it until you start talking about it, like, oh, let me just say something and get over it.
Yeah.
And I make sure I don't want to answer them kind of questions for a little while. I ain't there yet. So, even though you want to push, mental health, you want to make sure everybody right, they got to want to be right too. You cannot
They
push
do.
somebody earlier than they need to be because now that becomes a defense mechanism. And it's almost like, I know for me, I'm a man, so maybe, and I'm definitely, it's I don't know, I'm forgetting all my terms now. And I'm thinking only R words. I don't know why I'm thinking only R words, but
You're fixated on that one word.
I feel like I reprogrammed, but I feel like I'm wrong, but it had to been that though. But dang, what's the word that you when you like people like they want to do something, but they won't do it because you saying to do it. I'm that person, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm not hard headed, but I just can't think of the term. But that's me. And if you tell me like, hey yo, just make sure you take the trash out, I'm gonna get upset now. Like I was gonna do it already.
Yeah.
Now I gotta sit down for 25 until you get up out of here. My
And
view.
then I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So okay. So I get it. But you know what? I will say, a a lot more people are coming to realization that they do need help with their mental health. Some are battling with, do I make myself vulnerable? I think people have to be ready because it will touch on some things that they may not
Mm-hmm.
be ready to talk about at the time. And they have to do the work. And plenty of people come to therapy thinking that they're ready, and then after one or two sessions, they quit because they like, this is too much.
Yeah.
You're in my business. So I mean, yes, you have to be ready to do the work for it to be effective. Is the work always easy? No. But is it worth it? How do you feel? You know what I'm saying? How do you feel? I help with some short-term cases sometimes, and after 3 conversations, to see people's countenance change, to see them feel better, to hear the positivity that they're speaking about, that's important. But a lot of times, they really wanted to come in and see change and have tools to implement that change.
I want to ask this because you got the shirt on too. So I like the shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
What does it look like? Being
Oh,
mentally wealthy.
Mentally wealthy.
What does that look
I
like?
think that is individual. Just like with counseling, there isn't a generic answer for that because everybody's mental health is different. And that's why when I talk about being mentally wealthy, I'm not just talking about, okay, therapy, okay, this, but I'm touching on things that have to do with finances. I'm touching on things that have to do with socialization. I'm touching on things that have to do with emotional baggage and grief and things that people don't tend to think about, even faith-based trauma, things that people don't tend to think about when they're thinking about being mentally wealthy. When you're looking at health as a whole, it's not just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's social, it's financial, it's spiritual. So all of those health are a big deal and they make up who you are as a whole. So touching on all of those things for me is what being mentally wealthy is about. So my hope is to have discussions and talks in forums about all those aspects.
That's beautiful said. See, I be trying not to cut you off from the yeah, I don't know. You ever thought about doing like audio books for people and
I
stuff like
need
that?
to. I
That'd
need
be-
to.
that'd be
Pay
dope.
me. Pay me. I will be there.
That'd be dope, man. That'd be dope. And you mentioned and I definitely want to talk about that. You mentioned you wanting to start a podcast. What would that look like for you? Like,
I do. You know what? I just want it to be something organic, just like we're having a conversation. Yeah, there'll be a couple of questions in there, a topic, but I want it to be organic conversations. I already have started tagging people that I know, like, hey, I'm thinking about this podcast. I need you as a guest, okay? And I'm so lucky that I have all these people around me that are like, oh my God, now, okay, I'm coming. What you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't have my topic yet, but you're on my list. Even this month, I reached out to some male clinician for next month for men's month. I wanted to represent Black male clinicians, and I knew a few, and I just sent them little instant message things, and I said, hey, I think I want to do this podcast thing, and I need some guests, and I need some men to represent for men's mental health. Well, I want to focus on men's mental health for Men's Month. And they were just so gracious to want to make time for me. And I was just like, this is so awesome. Like, I'm just so happy. And so I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to have fun trying.
well, yeah, and like I'm a big advocate of when people want to do one, trying to be there as much as possible as I can for them, and pushing them to do it, especially if it's somebody I feel like I know is going to have a good podcast. I want to have them do it. But I would definitely, I don't know what we can do. I would want to be on there.
Yes.
That'd be amazing to do.
Yes,
Actually, like I
absolutely.
said, the idea I had you in mind anyway.
See?
But
Look at that.
that's a good way to get it out,
Yes.
and go from there. I don't care what it is, but that'd be dope to do. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would like to be a part of that, or part of you building that platform, because I think it'd be great. You got the
Yeah.
voice for it. You got the experience for it, and
Thank
definitely
you.
the conversation for it too. So yeah, that'd be amazing. I think that's a good move for me personally.
I'm excited about it. So
Um, yeah, you get your title down pat, get you a few guests lined up, and yeah, that's nothing. That's pretty easy.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
That's pretty easy. That's dope. Um, so and then I want to make sure I touch on all of them. So June now in June now June is minority.
No, no, no.
No,
June
sorry.
is national. I believe it's National Men's
Men's. I'm
Month.
sorry.
Yeah,
Men's
so
month.
I'm trying to focus on men and mental health for June, and that's why I wanted to get male clinicians of color to talk to men in our, not just in our community, but anyone who wants to listen to the podcast. But I'm excited to have so far 4 Black men, which I know a lot of men find a hard time finding male clinicians. So I was very excited when these men actually confirmed. I did reach out to another friend who he is not a clinician, but he created a platform for men to access clinicians because of the loss of his brother. And it's been really, really popular. And I'm just waiting to get his response. I'm so happy he grew up in my neighborhood in Brownsville, Brooklyn. And I'm just waiting for his response to let me know if he will like to join for next month. But he also is an awesome resource in the mental health field, and super excited to touch base with him. And hopefully he'll have time to, of course, record something with me so people can hear about his story, hear about his platform and what it has to offer for men. And just looking forward to talking to all the guys.
And I'm not. I don't think you should. I don't want you to like to go crazy on it like that. But that's another thing. I think us, being from New York, you meet so many different personalities. Not that you can't meet them here, but I'm just saying in that environment we grow up in, life chances and just the things we in the household we deal with, and then what you come outside as every day, and the things you deal with. It's a lot of great stories when you think
Yeah.
about just Brownsville people in general, like that projects
Yeah.
that environment and people that made it out and the stories they have
Absolutely.
because of they made it out, because they was able to survive and make it out of certain situations. I think that anytime I hear anybody, I got a big Brooklyn bias anyway,
Yeah.
but I like Brownsville definitely.
Absolutely.
Hated to visit there, but I love
I love Brownsville.
Brownsville.
I will tell you, I have a great Latino brother. His name is Dominic Gonzalez, and he has a like a video podcast like this, and it's called There Goes the Neighborhood. And I promise you, he has me on that thing like every other month, and he'll say to me, y'all don't know, Nat is from Brownsville with me. We came up from nothing and da 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 da. He has a huge Latina and Latino following. And anytime he has like some heavy topics, he'll call me and he'll be like, Nat, can you do this for me? And I'm like, absolutely, and I'll make it happen, because regardless of whatever, it's about getting information out there. But I remember saying to him the last time we connected, I said, I remember going to elementary school, and we were in Brownsville, Brooklyn, but I learned so much. Like, I learned Spanish and like words from kindergarten right now is right here. Like, I remember my sisters going to high school, and we moved to Long Island later on, and they went to high school, and they were just saying like basic Spanish things, and we were like, we learned that in kindergarten. Like,
Yeah.
what are y'all talking
It's
about?
the culture.
It is. And it was so crazy to me. I'm like, even as an adult now, and I'm a Cuban descent person, but I didn't learn the language from my family. And even now, most of my basic Spanish is from what I've learned at PS 184 in Brownsville. So I told him, I said, great things come out of Brownsville.
No, I'm even when you think of negative stuff, there's some great
Awesome things.
people, great.
Yes.
Yeah. I often tell people, like, that's the thing about New York and Brooklyn. I'll say is regardless of what somebody what they what was attached to their name, A lot of times, it's a lot of things are done with environment based. So you put in situations, you know, not that you can't put yourself in them, but you're put in situations, and that's just the reality. If you're trying to make it out, it just comes with the territory,
It
right?
comes with the territory.
And then, but you get your Mike Tysons, you get your, you know, Jay Z's, you get your
Riddick Bowe,
You know, my cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, my real cousin.
Oh wow, yeah.
I never met him a day in my life, but my mom and they got pictures with him all the time. Like he followed me now. I want to have him on a podcast. I feel like he wants to be on, but I also feel like it's that thing of I never spoke to him. You know.
Oh, what's up? Cousin, come on. It doesn't matter that you didn't speak.
Yeah,
Come on down.
I would just be curious to know his life. You know, he got a good life, but I got a cousin. Well, his cousin. Cousins be closer.
Yeah.
They know each other. And he always say, "We gotta get ready to go. We gotta get ready to go on." I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking he just talking, but then he added me one day. I'm like, all right, well, and he watched my story all the time and stuff. I'm like,
Tell him,
we never spoke,
come on.
you know?
We together in this. This family.
And we got the home videos of like, being in the house. I wasn't there. I wasn't able to go. You know, they all my family, my mom and them always went. I just didn't go. So it was nice to do when I was growing up. Going, I'm my cousin Riddick Bowe, you know. To me, then you get older, I'm like, all right, I ain't never met him.
That
Say
ain't
that
your
too much.
cousin.
Yeah, I know, right? You got a picture with him, but yeah, I wouldn't mind having him on. He's a good guy. From what my mom said, I don't know him per se, but but no, you have some real great people. And I remember with somebody the other day, and my dad ended up telling them. Well, I told them that my dad went to school with Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, Biggie.
Yeah.
They all went to I think it's Weston House. And they all went there, and Jesus thought that was so cool. Like what?
What?
I'm like but I tell them like. I'm not saying you can't get starstruck, but I said you see stars so often.
So often, it's not like,
you
oh
grow
my
up with
God.
stars so often.
It's not like
Tracy Morgan grew up in my mom's building.
Yeah.
They live in the same building, 200 Troop Avenue. So it's like you be
see
seeing them before they even them. You know? But you already know what a star looks like.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you see them, you're just not like I told her I met Steph Curry or something. She's like, you didn't. I'm like, it was just another day. Another
It was
guy,
like, hey,
he wasn't even when he was now. You know, I said if I met LeBron, I said I'm gonna give him a 5. But it's like he's LeBron, but I'm just the way you wired. Sometimes you're just not gonna
be all out there. And it's even the people that did classical music. I remember David Peaston used to be our music teacher at 184, and he went on to do works on Broadway and stuff like that. He passed away now, but we just had so many awesome people in our community that really loved Brownsville and repped Brownsville all day, every day. So, and I get it. We see people before they're people, and it's not like that. So, and then for me, I think I'm kind of doubly that way because in Jamaica, you see stars all the time, so it's not like, oh my God, I see such and such. My first cousin, crazily enough, is Elephant Man. But
oh, look at that.
Yeah, he is. And we know him, but like other Jamaican West Indian DJs that are popular, we've met them. My parents used to be heavy in the music industry with older Jamaican stars like Yellow Man and Beanie Man, all the older kind of crew, Stone Love, those types of people. So I guess they're just vibing people. Yeah. Like it's not like, oh, I'm this. That's not really how it is. So
yeah, and I would imagine a lot of people in Atlanta probably feel the same way. They see
people,
you see
all the
everybody.
time.
You see the Drake, you see Lil Baby, you see all the famous stars because it's in Atlanta. They all out there, and you in California, you see them all the time.
See them all the time.
So I can see that. But I don't want to get out without talking about it. So I know July 15th.
Yes.
July 15th, you got the
Mentally Wealthy Summit. It's our second one.
Second annual.
Second annual.
Can we talk a little about the first one? I thought it was amazing.
Yes.
I had a great time, even just filming it, and I think I had to work that day still. And I did. I was doing a lot last year, but I had an awesome time there. Met a lot of connections there.
Thank you.
And I liked even interviewing everybody, and I think the best part was my turnaround time with just putting the stuff out there and put out the next day. I tried to at least, and people still would be sharing it to this day. So just showing up there or just coming to something like that, like, and I even interview people. I think the one that got the most attention was not even the person that was they wasn't even a vendor like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was a lady that talked about somebody passing us,
yeah,
and I didn't expect that. I just was
yeah.
asking questions. I did not
Question.
know who this person. And when she broke down, I'm like, oh my god, what she
If
got me into? I didn't know I was coming for this. This is the heavy
exactly
stuff you
the
talking about. I said,
heavy
what the
stuff.
heck?
Yeah, yeah.
But people tagged her in it, and she shared it, and it, even something like that means so much
It
to
means
somebody.
a lot to
You
people
know.
because people right now, like I said, we have become so isolative. I'm not gonna lie to you. I get a lot of people, especially young women, who are struggling with relationships. They desire a good partner. They desire relationships. I get some from young men too, but mostly women, and they are struggling with connecting with partners, and they desire marriage, they desire children, they desire more, but they're not able to make the connection. I've had a few guys too, but mostly women, and it's been really isolating for people. So to have people they can see and connect, they can feel the emotion, the
Yeah.
genuineness, that's a connection for them, even though it's not someone personally that they know. I created the Mentally Wealthy Summit because I wanted people to be able to talk to local clinicians, see what they offer, let them know that they're there. You know, a lot of times people think, you know, they see a name on a directory or they may see a sign, but they don't see the person. So
Yeah.
this brings them to see the person, say, oh, they're just like me. They're people. I can talk to them. And it takes some of the stigma away about clinicians being untouchable, unreachable, unapproachable. And that was really the idea. And we had a great time. We had a keynote speaker, which was Dr. Davis. She is a wonderful, wonderful
Yeah, she was
psychologist
amazing.
in Evans. And then we had a great panel. We had Tiffany Hodge, Danny Parks. We had so many people, and we actually had almost 100 people show up to participate, and we just tried to have a really, really good time. My Bishop Peebles, he showed up and opened us up in prayer. And Ronique West, the president of the local Black Chamber of Commerce, she was there, and she definitely hosted for me. And we just had a great time. Ledra Collins, Charlotte Denson, my intern at that time. We really, you know, we had DFAC show up, the Department of Health showed up.
It was super informative.
Yeah,
Definitely,
it
definitely
really
informative.
was. Like people got resources, and I'm hoping that it's bigger and better this year. Always a little bit nervous when you're putting on your own event,
Because you
but
was never last year. You didn't think
I
you were going to get that big of a turnout. And
I
that
did
was
it.
great. That was
I
a great
did it.
turnout.
I was for the very first event, and I'm not gonna lie, we started out a little bit later because we were supposed to. We had started in January. We were gung ho, and we were supposed to do it at a different venue with a different set of supports. And at the last minute, that kind of support and that venue kind of fell through, and it was late in the game, I felt, and I was really, really nervous. And to see how many people honestly showed up, I was flabbergasted, and to have all the vendors and stuff, it was great. So we do have our Mentally Wealthy t-shirts. We are selling them for $20, and that is up to extra large, and we go up to 5X, and those are $25. And we are raising funds because we are giving away 2 scholarships to 2 high school graduates this year. And
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah, we are. We're giving away 2 scholarships this year are already picked. It's a young lady and a young man, and they are going away to college. We want to not only give them the scholarship money, but we also want to give them kind of a mini setup for going away to college. So, you know, some sheets, a basket, some water shoes for those bathrooms, you know, just little mini things they can take with them for that college experience. And so we are definitely looking for sponsors. If you're a clinician and want to be a vendor, those vendor spaces are free. And just reach out to us. I have to add the reservation to Pearl's website. My website is www.wearepearl.org. I had someone helping me, so we have an Eventbrite up. You can check us out on Eventbrite and register. And we have a link for vendors if they want to register also. If you can't make it out, and you want your business to be represented, we have $10 swag bags. Just pay $10. Your information will be put in every bag. And that's about it.
Amazing, amazing, I'm ready for it. And I
Thank
think I'm
you.
trying to not push, but I want people to know about it. So I'll probably make a clip of just that, but also
Thank you.
tag people that. And I want to end at least with this if possible. So sometimes a lot of times when people aren't, and let me know if I'm wrong in saying this. Sometimes when people aren't mentally wealthy,
Yeah.
they lash out.
Yeah.
They act out. I say that better, but they act out. They're not themselves, and they're not just hungry. You can't give them a Snickers and a
Can't
change. They're
give them
not
a snack.
themselves, right? They do things, and with no ill intention in mind. It's just that's probably what they've been
What they
conditioned
know
to
to
do
do.
when things aren't right.
Yeah.
For someone that may be doing it, maybe experiencing that type of behavior, maybe they're lashing out on social media, maybe they're probably burning bridges they shouldn't burn. Maybe they are saying things that they really don't even mean,
Yeah.
right? What advice or what vices, what nuggets can you give them?
I would say, if you can, absolutely reach out to a clinician. A lot of times people don't know where to find clinicians or that clinicians can be affordable. It doesn't matter if the clinician is an LPC, LMHC. If you don't know what that is, that's licensed professional counselor or licensed mental health counselor or licensed clinical social worker or a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever the clinician you choose for yourself. Most insurance plans have a mental health resource directory for those who are in contract with those insurance companies to pay for mental health services. Most jobs you work at have an EAP program, which is an employee assistance program. The EAP program allows you a certain number of free mental health sessions. Every company is different with the number of sessions. I have seen companies have as low as 3 sessions to companies have as much as 25 sessions for their employees each year. So you would have to reach out to your EAP program to see how many sessions you have at your disposal. You also can check out local hospitals. I think AU has a clinic. I believe Christ Community also has a mental health component to their clinic. A lot of times, those clinics are sliding scale. They do have an online mental health service called Open Path, which is also a sliding scale mental health resource. So, most average mental health costs can run you about $150, $150, maybe $200 a session. Open Path usually can find clinicians who are willing to take people on for between $40 and $65 a session if it's something that you have to pay out of pocket. You can also reach out to some mental health private practices. Some of them have pro bono case situations. Some of them have sliding scale situations. It just depends on your income and the circumstance of that practice. So there are resources out there. You just have to ask questions. You can find clinicians on websites like Psychology Today or Clinicians of Color or Therapy for Black Girls. They also have Therapy for Black Men. Also, Black Therapist Rocks. They have many mental health directories now. Everyone literally is pulling together mental health resources because it's such a need. And I know that it's becoming more commercialized, but the problem is there are so many people struggling with mental health that it's astronomical the amount of resources that's needed to meet the demand of the people.
Well, did a lot. That was an amazing answer. I appreciate that. Definitely gonna give you applause for coming through today. July 15th.
Yes.
All right. Make sure you go to the second annual summit.
Mentally
Mentally wealth,
Wealthy Summit.
mentally
Yes.
wealthy summit. And I just hope that you have an amazing event, just like last year, if not better.
Yeah, me too. I was so flattered today. I got a call from a lady in Indiana, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're in Augusta, Georgia." I said, "I don't know if you can come." I said, "I'll try to find someone, and if we can figure out how to live stream it, I will do it." But I said, "I don't know. I don't want to make a promise, but." And I did give her some connections to some clinicians and coaches that I know in her area. But I said, if I'm able to, I will gladly live stream it so she could be a part. And she was so excited. She was like, it just looks so great. I really want to come. And I said, I will try my best. I don't know. I can't guarantee it yet.
That is one of the beauties of social media, like the outreach you can get
Yeah.
from just posting something.
Just posting something. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Well, definitely appreciate you stopping by. I think we had an amazing conversation. I loved
Thank
it.
you.
Amazing voice. I felt like we had a session in itself. So definitely. I always try to recommend you to people when they ask me things about just therapy or
Thank
therapists, or to your page at least. Not saying they need it, but just to get information and things of
Yeah.
that nature. So, and I'll continue to do so.
Thank you.
I'm ready. Whenever you're ready, start your podcast now.
I'm ready. And you know what? I did start it's a private group. I should have made it a public group, but it's a private group. But I
seen
did
it.
start
I
a
think I seen
mentally
it, yeah.
wealthy
I seen
discussion
that.
group. And so today we posted and we talked briefly about oh my goodness, why I had lost we were talking
like me.
about functioning depression, how people are walking around actively depressed, but because they're functioning, they're going to work every single day, doing the things they need to do. People think nothing's going on, but they really are depressed at home. So we've been having an active discussion. I put in a video post, and a regular post for people to have conversations. So my hope is that each week I'll put up a video or we'll have a live conversation so people can jump on and we can talk more about mental health in those spaces if they want to.
Well, I got one question now. So,
Yes.
with could you mention something that now I wanted to just expound a little bit. As a civilian, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a civilian, right?
Civilian.
I just work at a hardware store. Right? And I'm a dad, 7 days a week. How can you like what are signs of that? Like what is
Of depression?
functioning depression? Because depression is one thing.
Yeah.
Somebody, not saying you gotta be sad per se, but somebody
Yeah.
just out of it, or just to move. Functioning depression, I mean, that can be. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, functioning depression, you're depressed at home. I am not probably taking showers every day. I'm hitting or missing at work. Or I may be even going to work okay and doing all the things, but like everything else for me is chaotic. My thoughts are chaotic. My body is hurting. I'm sad every day. I don't want to do what I'm doing, but I do what I have to do each day. But I'm not internally happy with myself. I'm not finding joy in the things that I do. And a lot of people are walking around functionally depressed each day. Actually, I had someone post in the group today how bad her functioning depression. She was like, I smiled, I joked, I did all the things with people no one knew at home. I wasn't taking a shower every day. I wasn't eating every day. I wasn't cleaning up behind myself. I was just happy to isolate until it was time for me to function and kind of play the role day to day. And so many people are struggling day to day. And that's why I think mental health is at epic proportions at this time, because so many people they're not dealing with the trauma. We are already dealing with having elevated anxiety as our baseline since COVID, because since COVID, technically, every day there's been something new. We have not had a time to just get to a place of regulation. We have mass shootings every other day. We are at war. We are participating in this. We are having recession issues. This is happening. That's happening. We're being, computers are being hacked. And, there's been no downtime of non-trauma things. And people are responding in more extreme ways. They're so hyper vigilant they don't know how to respond. So some people either go numb and don't respond, but then that means that it's showing up in ways of not showing up to work. Their body's aching too much to move. They're not doing all the things for their activities of daily living. So they're struggling mentally, but outside of their home where they have to present to people, that all looks normal.
I'm curious now, and I don't know how to look at this information or whatever, but because everything you just described as functioning depression, someone in my position where I'm at could just describe that person as a slack employee. They can describe that person as you're just nasty. You don't clean up behind yourself. You stink. Like everything. The no showers. Okay, bad hygiene. Talk to them in the HR office. Give them some deodorant. House dirty. What's going on? Clean your house up. Like, wow, this is filth. You're a slut or whatever the case may be. Everything you named. Even just using work or go home. Like you stay here too much. Like do you not? Is something going on? Yeah. Everything you named is
people that could possibly.
It's kind of normal.
Yeah.
That's like normal things.
And that's why it's so hard for them to recognize that they are functionally depressed. But there are so many people working in that window. I remember being a CPS worker, and I think I told this story last year. I'm sorry if I did. A CPS worker, and I went to this woman's house, and she was hoarding. And I mean, hoarding in a bad way. Like you walked in and you stepped on the carpet, and the carpet was squishy with dog and cat urine and pee. Ugh. And it was stuff everywhere. And outside of her home, she was OCD clean and perfection. And inside of her home, she couldn't. And at the time, you couldn't even open her bedroom door. And at the time, she had lost her mom. She didn't know how to let go of her mother's things and just kept accumulating them until they overtook everything. And she couldn't function without her mother being present. Now she moved into her father's house and started this mayhem. He's older, living in this chaos. Her son is there living in this chaos. And she's in this crazy cycle of grief of not knowing how to let go of stuff.
But to that point, I would wonder or question if even somebody that's dealing with functioning depression, how much of that is them saying, I know things are haywire here. As long as I make sure that I'm excelling here, I'll be fine, or I'm fine, because they just trying to function. So if I keep excelling at work, who cares if my house is dirty?
Yeah.
If I'm still showing up to work, if I'm staying late at work,
Yeah.
if I'm just never going home, but I'm at work, or whatever you're doing, you know what I'm saying? And you feel like, so at one place in your life, you're being super successful at, but you're just neglecting the other.
Yep, no balance.
Or horrible balance at that.
Horrible balance. No balance. And a lot of times there are a lot of people who do that because that is a way of avoidance. They don't have to deal or cope.
I would wonder now, anybody that's watching, I would question them to, don't question everybody now. Don't become a what's the clinician? That's the word. Don't do that overnight. Don't watch this thing. But it's a guy I worked with, and I'm not gonna say his name, but it's a guy I worked with, and I remember always thinking that to myself. He would tell me his stories. We'd be working. We meet salary, so salary is like, they say slavery, they say salary, slavery, whatever. But you're there for whatever. You get paid the same regardless.
Yeah.
You don't get up at 7. Paper said you get up at 7.
Yeah.
You get up whenever stuff is done. And I remember sometimes like just being in the chat, I'm at home, whatever, and he working, whatever, and it's like, man's a stay till like whatever, like 4, 5, 6 in the morning. You came in at 12 p.m. the first day. Yeah. And then still come back on time next day. I'm like, you could just stay later. I might text him, you just stay later. I know you stay late last night. Nah, I'm good. To the point you want to ask him, like, hey, you don't want to be home for a little while, like,
nope.
And not even thinking that even that is me knowing him now, and we've spoken, we've gotten closer since then. That's what it was. Yeah. He was going through some stuff, and I think his way of coping was
to work,
make sure his area was pristine, to stay here. Like, he don't care. I'm all day. I'm coming. Don't worry about it. I'm up there. Staying at around and just making.
Now, some people use that as a positive coping skill. So he turned a negative situation at home into something positive. Now, there isn't a problem with that. It becomes problematic when that becomes his whole entire life. Like there's nothing outside of that. And eventually his body is going to give a lot of times we do things, but we don't stop or change until our physical body says, "Excuse me, there's a problem here," and it lets go. And we have to understand that balance is important because not just for our mental space to be rested, but for also our physical space to be rested. So it can be a little bit tough, but we have to find balance in things. Our body needs time to heal. That's why at nighttime, we're supposed to be sleeping so our body can heal and repair itself from all the trauma we put on it throughout the day. So even God rested. There has to be moments of rest. There has to be moments of clarity. There has to be moments of balance. You can work. You have to work because you have to pay bills and do the things that you do and be proactive. But there also has to be rest so that you're able to have a clear mindset, vision, to set vision, make goals for yourself, to continue to push forward. If all you do is work 24/7, no rest in between, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to become irritable. You're going to get sick, and you're not going to be useful to anyone. And
also,
guess what? Stuck in that place that you didn't want to be in the first place.
I was going to say, sadly enough, what happens is the place that you weren't depressed at, so you stayed at, now you become depressed there, so now you have nowhere else to be. So you kind of, I don't want to say that word, you kind of mess yourself up, rather, because now the place you did have that you
is
could
no
not
longer
be,
a great space.
Yeah.
Because you burnt out.
Yeah. Hey, man, shout out to you, man. That was good. No, I'm not going to lie. When I wrap up, I'm ready to wrap up, but I had to ask that question. So, yeah, man, shout out to you. Definitely want to, we could do this again, of course.
Absolutely.
You always welcome to the podcast. Yeah, man, I want to make that clear, that function in person. I think it's a lot of people. When you explain it, it just seems like, and that could be anybody. You just don't know.
Absolutely.
You just don't know.
You don't. And you don't know what people are dealing with. And people are dealing with so many more things than what's presented to you every single day. You think you know because you see bits and pieces, but you really don't know.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. You ask yourself, how do you identify something? How do you identify a thing when it's functioning, but not as that thing? It's going on, but it's functioning.
Like, yeah.
And then, you don't want to be that person that's like, is everything okay at home? You don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing wrong with asking, but it's just.
Well, I mean, it's okay to ask, are you okay? But when you ask that question, you genuinely have to be in a space to want to sit there and hear what the person has to say.
Oh, God, yeah.
And respond. Yeah. A lot of times you're like, hey, how you doing?
Oh, and I know that's your feel. And that's one thing with like, I learned, I give you the fist bump.
There you go.
And I'm like, hi.
Yes.
I don't, hi.
That's it.
Because especially my position and where I'm at, how you doing turns into, well, can I speak to you?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, and then, and I was going to bring this up, this is the last thing I promised for, but I want to bring this up, like, I don't know how you do it, but me, when I'm at work, all day, so, I'm taking these calls, whether it's customer stuff, they just can't handle it, escalate up to you. So it finally get to you. They mad at this point already because they went through everything. You getting cursed out, whatever, cool. You talking to every associate because you can't say good morning to that one, not that one. So you got to speak to everybody, and then that person know you in charge. They feel like you can get something done for them. So it's like, hey, I got one thing I want to, this happened, and you're like, you in the wrong. But you hear all these open door conversations about how they was in the wrong, but they want you to know, just watch out for this person. And it's so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
I neglect then we get the teams chat and all this other stuff that's online, and that part of retail has turned into like, if it's not a picture, it didn't happen. Yeah. So like, you gotta be like, hey, make sure y'all got these demos set up. Make sure y'all do this. So we taking pictures in there. We putting in, got a lead for a detail. Got a flooring install. Got this. You doing all this stuff because there's so much sales and so much. We gotta make sure we pushing. I hate the phone. Yeah. So somebody call me and I get off work. I'm like, oh.
Yes.
So I'm trying to wind down because then
you have kids to take care of.
But very quickly, like whatever your day has brought you, you can bring to that person.
Yes.
Meaning, like, you ask me one question, and I'm irritated already. I'm ready on 10, probably. Probably on 12, but I'm just functioning, And it's like 13 of them, I'm going to spaz, and that just you happen to get 13. And I don't like that. So I want to, You mentioned earlier, like, you'll FaceTime your sisters in between. Talking all day and talking to people all day.
Mm-hmm.
If I come in here, I'm fine. But even then, I need that drive, I need that space to set up, I need to just chill, and I'm good. And I don't know, like when I don't want to talk to nobody when I get off work.
I have those days.
Or at least nothing serious.
Yes.
I want to have the most immature,
day,
joking conversation.
Yes.
Stuff I probably shouldn't. I want to laugh at everything. I probably shouldn't talk. That's what I want to do. I want to not be an adult for a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
And then when I get my kids, then we'll joke and play.
Yeah, I agree. For me, honestly, I was telling somebody the other day. They were like, "Oh my gosh, Natalie, I heard about you." And I said, "You did? From where?" And I said, "Because I've been in the house." And that's what I tell people. I'm in the house. I try not to be outside as much. You do want to be involved in a lot of things. But like you said, sometimes when you give of yourself so much, there are parts of yourself that you want to keep. And so I find myself at home reading or traveling and just creating quiet spaces for me, because I am a person, like, I've become sensitive to noise. So, my boys are here, my nephews, my Morehouse and my electrician guys, and my two boys are here, and they are naturally DJs. His father is a really big DJ on the radio in New York for Jamaicans, and so music is their thing. So the house be shaking, okay? It be shaking. I'll be like, I need a few minutes, and then my mother's Jamaican, very loud and boisterous, and some days I'm like, listen, I need quiet, I need quiet. And she'll be like, well, this is how I talk. This is how I said, I know, but I need quiet. And so now they're all sensitive to my sensitivities, that they're like, is she awake? Or if he blasts the music too loud and I text him, he's like, oh, turn it down. They try, because I'm like, it's too much stimulation. I need you to bring the stimulation down a bit.
I hear you. Yeah, man. Yeah, always good talking to you, man. It's always good it's always good to have a conversation when this is a black conversation here where you're about to leave and to cook out, and you're saying, oh, you're gonna go.
Oh, one more thing.
No, for real this time. We about to dip out. Shout out to you for coming through.
Thank you.
For coming through. Amazing person, of course. Wish nothing but the best for you.
Thank you.
Water Masters Podcast, we out. Thank you for coming through.